Struggling to get consistent, even results with henna. Hi, I'm Luke, national trainer for OkO. So one of the biggest complaints I hear from artists is that the brows go way too dark and the colour on the skin isn't even. So today we're going to talk about hair porosity and how this affects your final results, along with tone depth level and shade selection. Hope you enjoy this lesson and thanks for watching. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is tone depth level, which is the assessment of lightness or darkness of the hair. At level 6 and above, we can decide and see what shade and tone is within the hair. So whether it's warm or cool. Anything below 6 will visually just appear black. It's important to understand the tone depth level system because this helps you select the correct shade for your client. High porosity hair has an open cuticle. This type of hair is typically coarse and easily damaged. Basically, with high porosity hair, you're getting rapid absorption of colour. So whether that's lamination products, any chemical treatment is going to happen a lot faster. So understanding hair porosity helps predict the colour outcomes. As you can see, the same shade on high porosity hair as non-porous hair, you can see a visible darkening of the hair compared to when the hair is non-porous. So one of my favourite products to help counteract like high porosity hair and prep the skin is OkO Smart Step. So basically what this does is it fills the hair cuticle and it leaves like a film on the hair, which almost slows down the reaction speed of the dye and allows you to control the colour. So I just apply this to the brows. It absorbs really rapidly into the hair and skin, so I don't rinse off with any water when I apply this. I just literally apply it and then cover with plastic film for 1 or 2 minutes. So here I've mixed a thicker consistency henna. The stain that you get with henna depends on the consistency that you mix it to. So basically, if you mix something more liquidy and add more water, you're going to get like a lighter result. If you mix it thicker, you're going to get a darker result, but it's also going to darken the hair more rapidly. So because Kirsten, my model, has got dyed hair, she's normally a blonde and she does have highly porous brows. So we've prepped her brows with Smart Step. We've also performed a brow paste mapping. We used shade 6 in the OkO henna range, a neutral olive undertone. So it's not overly warm or cool, kind of versatile shade that you can use on many clients. So I'm just applying my first thin layer on the brow. As you can see, I do like a stamp and stretch motion. So I'm stamping from the base and then I'm stretching the product into the brow. This just avoids overloading the brow with too much product, and henna likes to be applied in thin layers. Here I'm taking some water, just regular water, and I'm using this to create an ombre at the front. So I always do this with henna. So just blending the front with water creates the most seamless ombre transition. I also do this throughout the body of the brow. So this is just, again, preventing the contact with the dye on the brow hairs, which aids in avoiding them becoming too dark, and then brushing off the excess dye. Here I'm using OkO line cleaner. This is to clean up any mistakes, just to really get the cleanest lines, just applying the same on the other brow. Here I am just stamping along the bottom line and then stretching the product through the body of the brow. I like to call this application for dye like a smart application because you're not just putting on one thick layer of dye, you're building thin layers. Thinner layers helps you control the consistency and the results easier rather than just applying one thick layer, stamping along the bottom line and then stretching up towards the body of the brow. Here I'm using the water again just to blend the beginning of the brow and create that ombre. I also bring this water blend through the body of the brow towards the top line. I'm doing this because Kirsten's brows are quite porous, so even though we do want to darken them with her hair being dyed darker, we don't want to make them black. Here I'm building the top line of the brow. I apply stamping motions when building the top line. So you can map the top line of the brow also, but I find when you use more liquidy products, it's not necessarily needed to map the top. As long as your lines at the bottom are perfectly mapped, you can get away with not mapping the top. Using the line cleaner again just to clean up any mistakes, brushing off any excess product and building the top line on the other brow as well. So brushing the product off helps just remove any excess product sitting on the brow, which is obviously going to result in over darkening. So I do this quite a lot throughout the treatment. Just helps create a smoother blend. So here I'm going on to apply my second layer of dye, starting on the bottom line. So with henna, it's better to build up layers. So the more layers you build up, obviously the more intense the result. We're not too concerned with darkening the brows here. However, if you were, you could stop at 2 layers and just let that dry, and yeah, that should be enough for your client. However, it just depends what your client wants, you know? If they want something more graphic and more intense, you're going to build up the layers. Doing the same process as before, stamping along the bottom line and then stretching to the main body of the brow. OkO henna has quite a gel-like consistency, so it's really easy to apply. I find gel and liquid textures the easiest to apply with brow dyes, just because you have like full control over them and you have a lot of time to like manipulate them and create the shape. Always stretching the excess product into the body of the brow. So here we're applying our third layer of dye. So here we're going to get like a nice graphic effect on the skin, but it's not going to overly darken the hairs too much. You could add a drop of black into this if you wanted to cool the shade down and also increase the skin stain. But for Kirsten's brows being a lot more porous, we wanted to avoid this, because saturating the brows with mixes that have black in can really over darken the brow hairs, especially if the brow hair is quite porous to begin with. And here's the final result. So we've used 3 layers of henna here to achieve this fairly graphic result on the skin. I think we've got a really gorgeous result. It's really neutral. It's not too warm. It's not too cool. It perfectly complements our model. Just applying some brow gel now to finish the brows off. When you take henna off, initially, it might look quite warm, the colour that you get, but that's just the product stabilising with the... So when you check back in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, the product will have stabilised a lot more and become the true shade that you will get in the final result. So with henna, it's best to like always discuss this with your client and just let them know that, yes, your shade will continue stabilising. So you can already see here how it began quite warm in the initial stage, and now it's starting to like even out and become this gorgeous neutral brown. But just applying Smart Step before the process has really allowed us to control the amount of intensity that we get from the henna, whilst also maintaining like an even skin stain. So thank you for watching my demonstration, and I look forward to hearing from you.